Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today I wanted to bring you all a bit of a review for Title Update 15 and just kind of bundle that with some of my general thoughts and feedback of the new content. The three big areas I want to, of course, cover are Countdown, Expertise, and Season 9, as well as, the things under the umbrella of all of those three highlight inclusions for Title Update 15. I figured, we've been waiting so long for this content, it's been such a whirlwind since it released this past Thursday, that it might be nice for me to just sit down, compile my thoughts, and present them to you all. So hopefully that sounds enjoyable, and let's just dive in, shall we? As a whole, I have very much enjoyed my time thus far with TU15. The elevated storytelling we're seeing is really great to see. Having a new form of progression, even if it is incredibly grindy, is always appreciated for myself personally, just to have something to be actively working towards. And as I've said a few times on the stream and maybe in a couple other videos, Countdown is by far my favorite, casual or replayable PvE content in the game. Unless I have a specific reason to, go in there, I really don't see myself ever really going back to the summit. More players, more action, more loot, and a fast pace is exactly my type of experience, and that's exactly what Countdown offers. That all being said, this update is not without its problems. There are a few areas in which I hope we might see some change, and a few things I am flat out disappointed by, and we're going to cover all of that. With that overview out of the way though, let's dive into each of these categories and talk about what exactly is in there. Starting with Countdown itself, shall we? As I just said, I've been really enjoying it. It offers a far more compelling gameplay experience to me personally than the summit ever did, and it's just been a lot of fun. The map is beautiful, really enjoy running around in there. The lighting and the time of day it's set at really fits the mood. The soundtrack is excellent, really elevates the experience. The inclusion of hunters really just ramps things up. I mean, when does it not, right? The main objectives for each of the 6 areas are unique and fun, some more than others. I'd say I really like 4 out of 6 of them, and then the other 2 are just fine. Admin and Reactor are not always the most exciting for me, but I still think that they're fine to have in the mode themselves. I adore the extraction portion of the mode. It's just pure chaos, which I love. It's lucrative beyond belief. You get so much loot during the run, and then you have the vendor at the base to spend your currency on, and I'm just a big fan of all of this being bundled into a short 15-minute experience. I really like session-based game modes. For some weird reason, that's really what I consider a game mode. I kind of struggle labeling Summit as a mode, but whatever, that's besides the point. I'm a fan of the experience that Countdown provides. It's not perfect, though. Rarely anything is. I do have a few suggestions and complaints about the mode, namely the following. I take no issue with any of the sub-objectives, neutralize the Warhound team, secure the area, SHD crates, etc., except for protect the VIP. I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but anytime I get a VIP objective, it always just takes longer than any other objective type, and it's far more boring just because the NPC spawns aren't that high. It'll spawn a few enemies here, a few enemies there across the room, and you're just endlessly running around taking them out for several minutes, and it really just feels like a less intense version of neutralize the hostiles, but with an extra step of having to revive the VIP if they go down. So I don't know if this was intentionally designed this way, or perhaps the spawns are bugged or something, but in general, I do not enjoy taking on the VIP sub-objectives within the mode, and I would love it if it could get tweaked or just even removed from the rotation. Next thing, the extractions. As I said, I absolutely love this portion of the mode, but it can be a bit confusing or, maybe convoluted, and I would appreciate a streamlining of that experience by just a little bit. Not even just for my own sake, but for the more casual players than myself in a group who I often see already, sometimes don't know what's going on. And what I mean by that is when you complete the main objectives, you get a new 4-minute timer to extract, right? And that's great. And I think that's what it should be. It should be a 4-minute timer to extract, but it's actually a 4-minute timer to call in the flare, at which point you get a new 30-second timer until the helicopter arrives, and then another 30-second timer to get on, before it flies off. And, if you don't clip onto the rope, sometimes you get extracted anyway, so it just seems like a lot of steps, and a lot of timers for a portion of the mode that should be pretty straightforward. My suggestion would be this: when you complete the main objective, you get a 4-minute timer until the enrage mechanic activates, which if you've played MMOs or anything else, you'll know what that means. Basically, your goal is to extract, same as before, but when you call in the flare is irrelevant. You get a 4-minute timer to get out of there, period, at which point the Black Tusk and the Hunter's backup has arrived. Huge numbers of reinforcements fly in and are spawned in, and basically makes it impossible to stay alive. That way, even if you don't call the flare in until there's like 15 seconds left, you still have a chance, but for that final 15 seconds of waiting for the helicopter, you're going to get swarmed by tons of hunters and everything, and it'll be incredibly tense. This way you also eliminate that 30-second timer to attach to the rope. I find that part to be convoluted, especially if you're fully focusing on covering the team's flank or whatever it may be. I've seen plenty of people miss the chopper because of that timer specifically, and I just think a streamlining of this entire portion of the mode might help it in the long run. Alright, and then the final piece of feedback, the credit distribution at the end of each run. Mostly it's fine, and I understand that doing more optional objectives and whatnot in the run nets you more currency, but then why do my friend and I, who virtually did all of the same things in the run, have like a 5 to 8 credit difference between us? It's just slightly confusing, and I think this is exacerbated by the fact that you maybe get 5 seconds to look at your breakdown before it boots you back to the base. So maybe just giving people the chance to look into their breakdown a little bit more might really help with some of that. But you know, that's a small thing. That's just me. But that's Countdown. As I said, I really enjoyed it. Really glad we now have it in the game. Let's move on to expertise. I have a lot less to say for this section. Overall, I'm good with it. I know some people have some very different feelings here, but I'm never somebody who is going to be disappointed by having more progression, especially in a game that I play so often and where I haven't really had anything to go for in literally years. And so maybe, well, not maybe, I'm definitely biased here in my take, but I'm going to enjoy having a long-term system to invest in and receive incremental power from. Is it a big grind? Yes, and it like far more than I thought it would be, you know, from first glance in the article months ago or whatever. But I really don't have a problem with that. I know others do, and that's completely fine. But that's really all I've got to give there. I guess my only feedback would be that the value of the system seems skewed towards weapons. By that I mean you get 20% roughly right now for each item you max out. Now on armor, across one build, I did the math, and that nets you, if I did it correctly, less than like 200,000 total extra armor because it's applying to the gear's base armor value, not your existing total armor, whereas each weapon is going to get a 20% damage increase. So 180,000 armor versus 20% extra damage seems like it's more worthwhile to invest in the weapons, but that might be an early take. Overall, those are my thoughts. Certainly leave yours below. I have a feeling this will be the most controversial topic. Last but certainly not least, let us move on to Season 9, the first story progression and new item collection we've received since December of 2020. Starting with the story, it's great. It's clear that Massive is investing in making story matter more, and that's shown through their commitment to providing cutscenes now, having actual time for you to go back to the base and listen to the audio logs, including new voice lines in the propaganda broadcast, shortening the checklist of activities you need to complete, committing to making the sub-targets feel more worthwhile by giving them their own mission space for you to fight them in. It all just culminates in a much more satisfying experience, not to mention the fact that they're teasing some super interesting stuff with Faye, Natalia, the Button. I'm really interested to see where the story is headed there, and I think the refined gameplay experience is really going to support that well. That's only half of this topic though, because we have also the gameplay elements of Season 9, namely the new guns, gear, exotics, and everything included in the Season 9 reward track. This is a bit of a mixed bag, and frankly where I have some of my biggest disappointments of the update. On the one hand, the Heartbreaker gear set, the new brand set, the TKB assault rifle, the GR9, they're all great. Some of them are really strong right now, but at least they're fun, right? And I think all great additions to the game, including their named variants. Now, obviously, there are some big outstanding issues with these items right now. Some have the incorrect models, some are missing or displaying the wrong attachments, and so while that is, of course, unfortunate, they're, of course, going to get fixed over time, and the fact that these things are all viable and good, you know, makes me even more excited for when they will get fixed. On the other hand, you have one of the things that I was most excited for as far as new gear and seasonal stuff to collect, the exotics. Now, functionally, I think they're all fine, right? I've yet to get the catharsis for myself, but I'm really looking forward to using that one in PvP, and the two guns seem powerful while being selectively useful, which kind of fits the bill for many exotics in this game. That's not my issue, but there is a pretty disappointing issue in my opinion, and I want to quickly jump into the game to show you exactly what that is. Alright, so here we are in the game, and I just want to show this quick to kind of demonstrate my point. I have the new Dread Edict exotic marksman rifle here, which is the only new one I've gotten to collect thus far, but that's sufficient enough to display my point. As much as this might sound kind of silly, one of the things I guess I won't say look forward to the most, but I really appreciate the exotic design and art that we often get in The Division 2. There's some great examples of that I will show in just a second, but both the Dread Edict and the blue screen just aren't that compelling to me, and they seem like it still feels to me like this model is unfinished. That said, they showed this exact model in the marketing. There was a trailer where the agent had this weapon, and it looked exactly like this. There were no mods, there were no details, there's no anything else. And so because of that, and the fact that I haven't seen any of the devs comment on Twitter to say that, oh, yeah, the exotics are missing some stuff and yada yada, makes me think this is the final look. You know, I've given them a lot of chances to kind of correct that statement, but yeah, it seems like this is the final look. And it's the same with the blue screen. It's this kind of look where it's just a paint job. And there's no mods, there's no additional details, there's no nothing. And compare that to, stuff we've gotten in the past, and it's frankly just kind of disappointing. I really look forward to the unique designs that we get on these exotics, and these two really just don't seem to fit that bill. For example, the mantis. You get some leaves on there, you get little hanging bits that swing around, looks really cool. Even stuff that, the chameleon changes colors when you move around. The eagle bear's got its cool little feather. The backfire's got a great, strap that moves with all that stuff, barbed wire on it. Even though people don't, some people have big issues with the Diamondback's look, you can't, you have to admit that it looks unique. And I just don't really think that the Dread Edict or the blue screen really look that unique. And now the Catharsis at least has its own, unique look. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of it, but that's not my issue to then say that's a problem with the update. I think that that's fine. But especially the two weapons just don't seem that satisfying to me. And what's especially weird about this is that compared to other stuff in this same season, it's just nowhere near as cool. For example, I recently got the skins for two of these new weapons. Look at that. This is a skin you get on the season track. I think this thing looks gorgeous. There's not much else to say about it. It's a very nice finish for the FAL. Totally, if I was ever going to run this weapon, I would totally run this skin. And it's like that similar looking, to the Dread Edict here. But it's just like it's an exotic. It should have some more details, and especially the mods. That's what I don't get. There's a scope that you scope into, but there's no scope on the gun. But then they use this in the trailer. And I haven't seen any dev say that the exotics are missing any sort of mods or skins or attachments on them. Similarly to the FAL, also the Vector has a really cool skin. I really think this looks awesome. And this almost looks, I don't know, cooler than the exotics themselves. I don't know. So that is about the only, thing about the update that I'm truly disappointed by, I would say, is that both this weapon, and again, I don't have the blue screen, but you can see a picture of it there on the left side. It's just really a paint job with a few little details. There's no mods, there's no extra attachments that are like, doing any cool effects or anything. It's just kind of some plain looking weapons, which is fine. As long as they work well and they have cool talents, I'd say that's the important part. But it's just a bit disappointing to me that the exotics aren't going to look super cool this update, because that's kind of what I was looking forward to the most. I mean, not their look specifically, but the exotics as a package. And I think that them not looking as cool as I think they could kind of detracts from that overall package. That is all I had to say, though, on that. Not a huge thing in the grand scheme of the update, but something I wanted to point out nonetheless. So with that said, everybody, overall, I am really enjoying Season 9. Are there exotic skins that are disappointing? Yes, but I can get over that. As for TU15 as a whole, we have a fun new game mode to play, supported by an awesome new storyline running adjacently, and backed up by a new progression system, which makes this all seem, much more worthwhile, at least in my opinion. And so for that reason, I think TU15 has been a big success. I've seen tons of new players trying the game out over the free weekend. That's always really encouraging. Old players are returning in big numbers to try the new stuff out. The game is getting big numbers on Twitch again, which is, relatively not that important, but who am I kidding? That's always nice to see, and I think TU15 is a great display of the potential that Year 4 has, and I think a lot of people are walking away with that impression that there are some exciting things to come. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you can be updated every time I upload. Let me know your own thoughts, feedback, and overall review of Title Update 15. Are you enjoying the Countdown game mode? Is expertise worthwhile to you? Are you intrigued by Season 9's story? And what are your thoughts on some of the new gear and weapons? It's a lot of topics, in this conversation, so I'll be very curious to read through all of your thoughts on that. And yeah, everybody, I think that's about going to do it for me. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and until the next one, guys, RogueGold out.